Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. Bada bing bada boom. Now, as we await our first guests to arrive and welcome Chloe Evans, hello, Zoe Prince, Andrew Fry, and MB Alvin, welcome. Allow me to set the intention for this space as one in which you may find yourself feeling accepted, comfortable, and welcomed, of course, regardless of where you come from or how you're feeling in this moment. Hello, Kills, welcome. Hello, Valentine. Hello, Peacock Boulevard. And hello, Jerome. And welcome, Bryhav. Namaste, Sky Guardian. Ohio. And thank you, Zoe Prince, for blessing us so early on with your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. I trust that you all are feeling as well as you can, despite what emotions, thoughts, feelings, perceptions may be in your present conscious field. You, as that consciousness, remain undisturbed. And hello, Valentine. Thank you for your octet of rosas. Hari Om Tat Sat. Let us all come together as fellow students of life, ready to relate in one another's experiences, uplift each other, and share positive sentiment. And hello, Natalia. Bryha, if you're wondering, why so early today? You got used to relaxing with me at night. Indeed, just as I'm sure many of you enjoy listening to me at night, so do people from other places around the world. And so for the last week of the month, I dedicate an earlier time for people in Europe to listen to me at night instead of in the middle of the night. But I will return to our regular time the first of the next month. And hello, Lexus. And hello, Himmels bro. Jada, you ask for me to say something. Okay, just this one time. What the Sigma? And Valentine, you watched the half of the interview. Just the half. Now, since you all are so early, and hello, Kat, and hello, Ragnhildur, I'm glad you liked the interview. I have a question of the day for you all, if you're interested. Today I'm wondering from you, what makes you capable of making a difference? Now, I don't mean this to question you. I am genuinely curious. Last live, we asked, how do you want to make a difference? So today I'm asking, where does your capacity to make a difference come from? Sky Guardian, you say, by telling me that I am missing an E in the word difference. I am indeed. That's an easy fix. Thank you. And can't you share your will to make the difference? I like that. Yeah. Yeah, you made a difference. You really did. Stop talking. You say mass plus metabolic and homeostatic processes. A very scientific answer that is. Indeed. Lexus, you share. Setting your mind to it and knowing that if you don't do it, you'll make your future self disappointed. Aww. I wouldn't look at it that way. I would look at it in terms of the positive, that knowing that if you do it, then you'll make your future self proud. Valentine, you say, by letting your intrusive thoughts win. Not going to therapy? No, Valentine. This is not the thing to say. Be patient with your intrusive thoughts. And if therapy is helpful to you, then continue in that. Madeline's. Hello. You're painting and get to watch me. Well, I hope not to distract you from the beautiful creative process that is ongoing within you. And Om, you share the ability to receive constructive criticism. I love that, yeah. Oftentimes, the ways in which we want to make a difference have room for differences as well. Being open to that change can be such a great practice on the pathway to making differences yourself. And Lena, you share that you think we all can make a difference, and it's in the small things, one word or act. I love that. And thank you, Madeline's, for your 25 roses. Jai Sitaram. And Ragnhildur, you share the willingness to try. I love that. Indeed. Just having an opening within your own self to see that potential and going for it. In Serenity Space, you share by getting off thy duff and doing it. Making a difference, boom. What is thy duff? Now this is a new word for me, perhaps you can teach me. I like the sound of it though. Thy duff. Or vulnerability, openness. Shares Om. And hello, Jelfer. You share that it's an interesting question I'm asking, and you're not sure what the answer is though. And yet you have answered it, even by saying that. But the capacity for us to make a difference is an allowance to ask questions, to seek answers even when we are unsure of the solution ourselves. Thank you, Rosie. Kills, you share your love towards existence. Very beautiful. I think the music is very loud. Let me turn it down for you all. And thank you, Painted Lady, Woodland Fairy, for your heart meet. Rose, Team Bracelet, and it cheer you up. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, Himmel's bro, you share that you're making a difference by being your authentic self and being a mirror to other people. I love that. And Frankie Jam, you share trying to get back to them, back to their true self in which we were once connected, unified long ago. Valentine, you thought I said be patient with your crew stop. My goodness, you really are a racer. And Brihaf, you share that you are old enough to make a difference by being an example of what not to do. There's the humility, I love it. Serenity, you share, you have to get up and make a difference. You do now. Whee! Thank you, Madeline. You share, you only add to it. How sweet. Lovely to see you again, Painted Lady. And Bossman, you ask an unrelated question to the question of the day. Why can't you believe in a God when you want to? It doesn't make sense to you. Because it's difficult to believe in that which you haven't experienced. So, the method of spirituality is that which gives you that experience of God directly. It doesn't happen overnight unless you're incredibly lucky. But you have to go through the process of discovering what God is, and then you have the capacity to believe in what you see. In Serenity, you gotta get a root canal. Whoopee! My goodness, that is quite a procedure, and I definitely wish you well in going through that process. All my best wishes to you. I'm sure it will go well as it can. And thank you, Bantagor, for your heartmeat. Hare Krishna. And I think, Serenity, that your silliness in the face of such a serious procedure is going to serve you well. Having that lightheartedness, not taking it too seriously yourself. Leave the seriousness to the professionals. Painted Lady, you share. Finding the confidence in yourself to find the answer and the courage to make a difference. I love that. And Frankie Jam, you share by giving and not taking. Well said. And thank you, Bantagor, for your flowers as well. Radhe Radhe. Madeline, you add the capacity to look within. So true. And Isabella, you share that it's something in your willpower that you can't explain. The drive of your soul, you guess. Well put. And Karina, you share being your authentic self is 100. Valentine, you share making a difference is service through others, for real, like I explained from Bhakti. Rallying with no co-pilot, except the day you'll move your pet turkey. Hello, Haley Queen. Stop talking, you ask. Do I have any siddhis? Siddhi meaning spiritual power gained through spiritual practice. No. And I hope to never gain any, because I know that my big ego, it would only attach itself to that, and I'd get lost for a while. So I plead to God, please don't give me the power to levitate. Don't give me the power to use telekinesis or teleportation, because I'll only be doing that and I'll never actually be serving you. love that. Such pure answers, everyone. It really makes me so happy to see how much potential there is for change, for making a difference, and how large of a capacity you all have for that, myself included with you. Yippee! So I humbly extend my thanks to all of you for delighting me in this question of the day together. And thank you, Creamy Loops, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Luke Winkler, you shared that you failed to do so before when it mattered, and thus you realized how much it matters to make that difference when you have the chance. And therefore the opportunities now become even more precious. Part of the peak of existence, you ask, how can you help a person to cry? How can you help them feel their emotions if they struggle, forgiving themselves? By allowing yourself to be vulnerable in front of them. Showing them like a role model how it's okay to feel your emotions. It's okay to cry. You're allowed to forgive yourself. And we can't make that decision for anyone else but ourselves. And as we do so, we become that guiding light for others to make the same decisions. Nikki, you share that you're going to India in 18 days from Australia. That's very exciting. You know, I am planning on making the journey this August, so if you stay long enough, maybe I'll see you there. Helen, you share that you're afraid of not being good enough. And that fear can be very motivating. And when you add to that motivation self-acceptance, you become even more capable of making that difference. Hello, Mirto. You share that your life is extremely difficult. You think that you could share your story? Absolutely. Absolutely. The more difficulties we ourselves go through, the more we are able to relate with those who are also going through such struggles. Thus we come to a sense of community in our shared experiences of life. And thank you, Isabella, for your finger heart. Radhe Radhe. And hello, Gardening Greygarji. Now I know there are some wonderful questions that we can dive into, but I still have yet to really open the space for that. I trust you understand. Not before we read from another section of the book that we are reading. Today we are reading In Love at Ease, which is a wonderful book about the story of one spiritual seeker who was seen as a guru to many people. His name was Pramukh Swami Maharaj, and this is his book, In Love at Ease, Everyday Spirituality with Pramukh Swami. It was written by someone whose heart was touched deeply by his love and devotion, Yogi Trivedi. We are recounting various quote-unquote love stories from Swami Sri's life, and perhaps we can learn from them ourselves. And hello, Alice, and I see your question, Painted Lady. We will discuss it momentarily. But first, let's talk about how Swami Sri never forced people to adjust to his ways or schedule. His natural sense of understanding that was inherently mixed with his ability to love meant that he gave people the space they desired and let them come around when ready. Swami Sri was in Dallas in 1994. He was walking back to the sadhu's residence after the morning assembly for lunch. I was about 11 years old and tired from the long days and nights of traveling with Swami Sri. I fell asleep right in the front of his seat in the dining hall. There was no way for Swami Sri to get to his seat. He gently stepped over me to be sure that he did not wake me up. Some of the sadhus tried to wake me, but Swami Sri stopped them. Let him sleep for a bit. He must be tired. He will wake up by himself when the hall fills up with bhaktas, devotees. Swami Sri sat down and started reading letters from the devotees. A few minutes later, the hall filled up and everyone began singing aloud the pre-meal prayer. I immediately jumped up and tried to hide my face in embarrassment. Swami Sri looked at me and called my name. Yogi, easy, no rush or worries. Aren't you going to bring me warm rotlis? Wheat-thin flatbread? I was in a daze, but Swami Sri's reassuring voice reminded me that I was in a safe space. Hello, Keyblade Master Eric. Swami Sri kept his promises because he appreciated that love is built on trust, and promises are a symbol of trust. As his health weakened, the guidelines for meeting Swami Sri were tightened by his physicians and personal attendants. And rightfully so, as he was perhaps one of the only religious gurus I had met who had an open door policy for millions of people from around the world. I often feared losing quote-unquote access or personal contact with Swami Sri for these reasons. These fears were a sign of my own spiritual flaws and insecurities, but Swami Sri often reassured me, "It is in my hands to meet you, and I will for as long as I want and physically can. Do not worry. Your focus on your spiritual journey and service to society. You focus on your spiritual journey and service to society." I continued doing just that. I traveled to meet Swami Sri in Mumbai in the winter of 2009. The personal attendants politely reminded me of the guidelines for meeting Swami Sri. They told me that they could arrange for me to meet Swami Sri in the meeting hall. They would vacate the hall and let me speak to Swami Sri in private. It was, however, impossible for me to meet Swami Sri in his room. I was obstinate. In hindsight, it was one of my greatest difficulties that I may have caused my guru. Here I was trying to get close to him, but in reality I was pushing him away. Swami Sri learned of my wishes. He called his attendants and said, "I will meet him in my room. Please let him in. If you do not, I will have to go out and meet him in his room." One of the personal attendants intervened. "Swami Sri, we must look out for your health. Besides, Yogi and I get along well. I will talk to him. You can meet him in the assembly hall. He will understand." Swami Sri interrupted him. "Please try to understand. I have to meet him. I must. I promised him that I would. I will not take no for an answer. Please send him in, or I will go out to meet him in my wheelchair. When Swami Sri shared this story with me, I had tears in my eyes. I had been spoiled by his constant affection and attention. It was time for me to grow up. I could not continue to be that 5-year-old who expected his guru to accede to his every request. We sat in silence after we were done speaking. As I was walking out, Swami Sri called out, "Yogi Bhailad, Yogi dear, will you free me of my promise? I am not sure how much longer I will be able to meet you inside. I will try my best, but please forgive me if I cannot." I stood there in silence, ashamed yet comforted by his gaze. This was my second time in my life that my guru had apologized to me. Thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll pause our reading there for now. Such lovely love stories. Now we may return to our regular format, and speaking of promises, I have made myself a promise to attend to Painted Lady's question. You asked, how do I find a balance of being my best self all the time? In 2021, you were at your best physically, but not mentally. Now you are at your best mentally, but not physically. How do you do both at the same time? This is a common question that I think a lot of people have themselves. They would like to maximize both their mental and physical health, as well as the needs of many other aspects of their life. And then they feel like they're doing something wrong when one problem arises and yet they have solutions elsewhere. But remember, the problems that come your way are not your fault. They're a gift to you. If we ran out of problems in life, we'd run out of life. Life is ripe full of problems just for us. It's a special treat that we get to exercise our ability to solve problems. When you are not at your best mentally, but physically you were, you have been blessed with physical health and blessed with an opportunity to work on your mental health. Now, you have been blessed with mental health and blessed with an opportunity to work on your physical health. Everything is a blessing. Balance doesn't mean that you try to maximize everything in your life. It means that you allow yourself the freedom to move about from working on one thing to another, and slowly but surely you increase your efficiency, efficacy in all areas of life. I hope that is understandable. And thank you, Helen, for your finger heart. Jai Hanumanji. Gardening Greyguardji, you share that you must get ready for work now. You love us all, and you wish I have a wonderful day. Thank you for sharing your best wishes for everyone. May your work today be fulfilling and challenging enough to give you something to work on, but not too challenging that people will then have to work on you. Marianne, you share that I am a blessing. You are a blessing. And I'm happy that you feel happy every time you get to hear readings from In Love at Ease, Gregor. Marianne, you ask, how am I today? Marianne Moria. I am doing pleasant. I am feeling happy and healthy. And thank you, Maya, for your trio of fires. Hari Om Tat Sat. Oh, it's Maya. I thought there was an R between the A and the I. Thank you for correcting me. Maya. Alice, you ask, is it still spring in Canada? Hot or cold? In Italy, it's basically summer. Hard for me to decide what makes the difference between spring and summer. I feel like it is still spring. We have yet to move into scorching heat. That is trademark of summer. But elsewhere in the country it is very different. Canada is the second largest country in the world next to Russia. As such, you will find a whole variety of biomes, weather patterns, and climatology. From north to south, west to east. I happen to live in the only subtropical place in Canada. Some people call it the Hawaii of Canada. And Delilah, thank you for your dancing flower. Hello, cornbread. And Radhe Radhe to you, Delilah. I'm happy you love the music, Om. And that you find the voice here, this voice speaking to you, comforting, Lorianne. Is that the letter thorn in your name? Guthmundur. Perhaps I've pronounced that in a way that is receptive of constructive criticism, and I invite it. You can tell me. You ask, what do I do when I reach the ultimate success and I feel I have finished my purpose? Then I must be confused with the nature of ultimate success. Because no success is ultimate. There is always more to do. There are more people to help, more people to serve. True success is when all beings in this world are liberated from suffering. Until that point, no one can claim that they are successful. At least not in the ultimate sense. They may have succeeded in their journey so far, but there is always more to do. Ultimate success is not a point in time. It is the continuity in time. To keep on making a difference. And thank you, Lily Moore, for your trio of rosas, your music play, and your 3x3x3 cube of 27 roses. That's the first tetration of 3, isn't it? 3 tetrated twice. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alice, you ask, do I ever wish I was born in another country? I think the Divine Mother has placed me exactly where I'm meant to be. She doesn't make mistakes. And thank you, Om, for your tiny a few minutes ago. Yippee! And you share that it's a long story. Your friends call you Annie, so not sure what your name is. Well, I'll call you Annie too, if you accept me as your friend. Ooh, this looks like a Gaelic name. Sarsha. That's my first guess. You can tell me otherwise. Thank you for your heart me and your team bracelet. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Govarno, for your motivation. There are good questions tonight, Painted Lady. Lots of us trying to find our best selves. And the funny thing is we are our best selves. In the question itself. Thank you, Mel. I'm happy you appreciate my smile. You all make me smile. It's very easy to smile when I'm in your presence. Delilah, you ask, what will I do for the rest of my day after I finish the live? I will be working on a surprise for you all. And probably responding to messages. Lily Biln, you share that you believe our soul decides where we are born. I agree with you, Lily. And it means freedom in Gaelic. I love that. Freedom. And your name's Lorna. That's easier to pronounce. Nice to meet you, Lorna. What's the surprise? Asks Sky Guardian. Well, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you. Hello, Charlie. Brian, you ask, what do I think of white Americans trying to connect with the European cultures of their ancestors? It's a good question. Of course, I'm sure the Europeans who are ancestrally European, as well as presently living in Europe, are maybe shaking their heads going, no, no, no. First you come here, come experience the culture. I think we should pay homage to our ancestral line. It is important to honor where we have come from genetically. At the same time, it's important to honor the culture that we're brought up in at the same time. So we can do both. We can recognize our heritage as well as our nationality. Thank you, Isis, for your heart me. Hariom Tat Sat. And Meh, it's Pidge. Thank you for your heart me. And the gimme the vote. Still don't know what we're voting for, but I hope it's something beautiful. Hare Krishna. Sky Guardian, you share, but you don't like surprises. What if you get a heart attack? I don't think it's kind of that surprise which will adversely affect your health. You ask, why did your soul decide on the Middle East? Now, it's more than just a decision. According to Bhagavad Gita, which is a very ancient song which describes many spiritual aspects of, wow, look at that, it's just nature. It describes many aspects of Vedic spirituality, which is the oldest form of spirituality that we know of. The soul incarnates in the direction that the mind is pointed to the moment of their past death. And I think that makes sense, because the final thought is all you have left to go off of, the moment of death. Following that leads you into whatever environment or body is conducive to fulfilling that thought. People are always saying, keep your mind on God, religious people. But why do they say this? It's so that at the moment of death, the final thought is source. Thus you go to source. You maximize the chance of your final thought being on source if you're always thinking about source. Maybe your final thought in your last life was, I wonder why some camels have one hump and others have 2 or 3. What is the meaning of this? Then you kicked the bucket, and the universe said, well, I guess in your next life you'll figure that out. Thank you, Charlie, for your bouncing beach volleyball. Hari Om Tat Sat. And you actually did figure that out? Oh, good. Soul contract is come to fruition. Time for something new. Thank you, Lorna, for your subscription here. Very pleased to have you, and I look forward to being able to connect deeper with you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gus, you're wondering, Gus, past lives equal future lives? Well, if you go far enough in one direction, perhaps you'll come back in the opposite. Charlie, you ask, good books to recommend. Let's see, one of my favorite books is Goodnight Moon. Classic. Big fan of the red balloon and the cow jumping over the moon. D, you thought that was my foot? You were like, what asana is that? It is a sock indeed. I'm not that flexible. I don't think, at least. Actually, I guess maybe I am. I'm glad you like the background, East. How about Roar the Ganges? Yes, thank you for that opportunity, Sky Guardian. I don't have it next to me, but Roar the Ganges was a lovely book that we read together. And the whole audiobook narrated by me is on my Yamsox Live's YouTube channel, clipped by Sky Guardian, in case you wanted to listen to that. Hello, Anthony. You could hear my voice before going into my live. Well, my voice must have made an impression. You hear that there's a flood in India. It is the monsoon season, isn't it? Or coming into it. I'm unfamiliar with precisely what's going on, but all my best wishes for those who are suffering as a consequence. Alice, you ask, do I drink coffee or tea? And if so, which is my favorite? I used to drink a lot of tea, and I hated coffee. And then I realized I loved coffee, and then I drank a lot of coffee. And then I thought, coffee only increases my anxiety. I switched to energy drinks. That didn't help. I came to realize that no matter what packaging the caffeine came in, yes, it was conducive to energy, but the side effects for me was not worth it. So I don't drink anything caffeinated anymore. But as for tea, I love chamomile, lavender, fruity tea. Sweet tea. Actually, I would find that I became so sensitive to caffeine that just that overwhelming urge of energy would be too much for me, and so I'd go and take a nap. I'd go and lay down in my bed until it passed. It had the opposite effect. Alice, you particularly like the way I pronounced love as a longer word. Do I? I don't even notice I do that. Love instead of love. Here's a longer word for you. Omnidirectional. Macroeconomics. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Now I'm just flexing my vocabulary. My apologies. And thank you, Painted Lady, Woodland Fairy, for your subscription here. You are an esteemed guest of the House of Yamsox. I'm always happy to have you here. And always let me know if there are stickers you want me to add. Delilah, you share that you're sadly allergic to tea, not had a cup in 35 years. That's quite alright. The yogis of the Himalayas. I was listening to this one yogi, actually a yogini, which is the technically correct word for a feminine yogi, a yogini. And the yogini was talking about how tea is supposed to be medicine. That if you drink medicine every day, then you dilute its potency in your system. That you should only drink tea sparingly when you are sick, every few months at the most. It's not supposed to be an everyday beverage, otherwise it becomes a poison, just like tobacco. Which is funny, because we consider India as the land of tea, right? They call it chai. But that tea is actually an import from England. The Indians didn't start drinking tea until they brought it there. Then everyone got addicted. Thank you, Lilimar, for your 10 roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Finding bliss you share, that's scary. Don't worry. It's not that bad. You know, it's not like a carcinogen. I'm sure you're all going to be okay. Polly, you share, gotta be honest, young males never looked as good as I when you were young. Very unfair. You say beauty is a quality of the feminine. I think I've had to transcend a little bit of my manhood in order to get a little bit of that beauty. But that's a transaction that I'm willing to make. Hello, about Sophia, and I think that's such a sweet title you have for me, Mr. Safe Space. It is my intention for this to be a safe space for you. Om, you share that when you were in India, you were drinking 3 chai cups a day in 35 degrees Celsius weather. Oh my goodness. Agni was really increased in you. Must have been. Be the light, you ask. How to be in the feminine energy? The feminine energy is all about expansion. It's all about fluidity. The nice thing about the masculine is that it's firm and rigid. But the more firm and rigid you are, the harder it is to adapt to change. So being too firm can actually make you brittle and break easily. Fluidity is important. Consider this strange thought experiment of dropping a bomb on a mountain versus dropping a bomb in the ocean. Now, of course, a mountain is huge, and there's going to be no way with any ordinary bomb to blow up that mountain. But with each explosion, you chip away at it, and you're never getting that wall back up there. It is falling away. But if you drop that same bomb in an ocean, you'll make a big splash. Maybe some of the water evaporates, but it'll become water again. It'll slosh back into the center. It'll self-heal automatically. No matter how many bombs you drop in the ocean, whoosh, and then comes back to center. In that way, the ocean is immortal. Fluidity is a kind of immortality, because you are still moved by things in life, but you always move back to center. Embodying the feminine spirit is all about that fluidity. To be dynamic, never fixed, be like water. And thank you, Jarrett, for your heartbeat, your rose and a stinging bee. Hari Om Tat Sat. Jonas, you share that you put me on and listen before going to bed. Best sleep aid there is, in the most positive way. Well, remind me not to break out into arguments or raise my voice, start screaming. That would be very unproductive to your sleep, so I'll keep that in mind as we continue to go through these lives. Thank you, Jeffrey, for your music playing tiny tiny. Yippee! Hello, Flow with Paige. I am well. Thank you for asking. And I am on early. Just for you. This does feel very safe, shares Anthony. I'm very happy to hear that. It can get hectic sometimes, but that is life. And thank you, Jeffrey, for your hand hearts also. Hare Krishna. Brian, you share that be like water is something that keeps floating into your head. Well, sounds like your head is very much embodying water, given that it keeps floating things up to the surface. You make me think of an analogy of the mind like water. That good thoughts float to the surface, and negative thoughts, they sink down to the bottom. Then they build up in our subconscious mind. That's why it takes exertion to dive down into the depths of our mind. Pick up that weight and release it as we bring it up to the mind's surface once again. Jeffrey, you share that I am channeling God. I think we all are in many ways. And I'm sure that any good that comes out of these lips, I cannot take credit for that goodness which has existed long before my birth. But I can take accountability for anything that comes out of these lips that invokes suffering. When they say that all that is good is God, that means that whenever there is goodness, we can't take credit for that. And wherever there is a mistake, we have to take accountability for that. And yes, Ethan, I do have Instagram. And in relation to these lives, if you ever want to know when I am live, in case there's a schedule change, I put that information for you on my Instagram story. Brian, you shared that you recently joined a Sangha for those struggling with sobriety called Recovery Dharma. Am I familiar? No, but that sounds wonderful. I love that. Addiction is absolutely a part of life that everyone goes through, maybe not in stereotypical ways of illicit substances. Sometimes we can be addicted to validation from others. Sometimes we can be addicted to social media. Other times it could be chai or coffee. Whatever it may be, there is an opportunity for us to relate with others who are also going through similar things, big or small, and be free of these vices and stand on our own without external support. Hello, love always. Love always, my friend. Painted Lady, you share that I need my yams as sub-stickers. They feel left out. That's a great idea. I'll do that. And thank you, Smiles and Flames, for your heartmeat. Oriom Tat Sat. And thank you for your rose as well. Simon, you share that you have an addiction to me. And hello. I also hope to empower you in being free from me also. If there is an attachment to these lives, I hope that attachment is to the message and not necessarily the persona that is carrying the message. Because the message you can carry with you everywhere. That is yours to keep yourself. But me, I may not always be here. And thank you, Delilah, for your paper crane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. East, you share that when I use orange, I give off monk vibes in a way. Sometimes I feel like that. Although this is no ochre robe of the Swami order. This is of the Jedi order. Here I have the Jedi symbol here. It even has a hood, so I can be like Obi-Wan. The Force is within you. It's a gift from my mom. And hello, Jan. Mr. Astrolabe, you had shared that you think that maybe whenever someone dies, they go to heaven, and we are born in hell. Has anyone told you that this is not already heaven? Of course, your first answer is, well, maybe not, but isn't it obvious that this place is full of suffering? How can heaven be like this? Okay then. Was it ever guaranteed that heaven would be peaceful? Even if we made a mess out of it? What if we are allowed to be in heaven for as long as we don't make a mess out of it? And now that we've made a mess out of it, it's also our responsibility to fix it. And thank you, Jarrett, for your snowboard. Hari Om Tat Sat. And I love that you share that yoga is creating an inner atmosphere of heaven. Haho, Gus. You shared that it was guaranteed that we would enjoy life in heaven. As long as we are good, isn't it? See, we are guaranteed to enjoy heaven as long as we behave nicely. We haven't been behaving nicely. We've made a mess out of our sacred space. But that's okay. Being responsible for the mess means that it's also within our power to remedy it. Thus, we may be gifted eternal life in order to do so. And thank you, Shakira, for your heartbeat. And Anthony, you share that you're always wondering, how can we really fix Earth? Honestly, so easy to be kind. So easy. And yet so easy not to as well. Kindness is easy. But being mean is even easier. And thank you, Liz, for your heartbeat also. Hare Krishna and Om. Thank you for your finger heart. Aho, you ask. Then how can a newborn child be responsible for mess? Why it has to suffer? Good question. When we are all born, we are not immediately born into suffering. A baby has no reference frame for what is right and wrong. There is just pure existence. Though a baby may cry, a cry to a baby is just an expression. It's how it communicates. If the body is in pain, or even the mind, that doesn't necessarily mean the soul is in pain, though that soul may express that pain, so that the body and mind may be attended to. All the religions in the world agree that souls are part of the divine, and the divine is infinite. And so we have inherited that infinity in the form of the eternity of our souls. That not only do our souls live on after death, but that also means if we go in the other direction in time, that we have also must have come from some other place as well. So a baby is not a new soul. It is continuing from where it left off previously. And just like how the scriptures of the various cultures around the world say that the actions that we do in this life carry over into the afterlife. Well, the actions of our past life must carry over into our present life also. So a baby may seemingly be born into this world without cause, but it is a carryover from another experience. The challenges that it goes through is not a punishment at all. We are all destined for salvation. The difference is that these challenges are meant to strengthen us, to make us more compassionate for the world. If we never experience suffering, then how would we know to attend to other people's suffering? We would just think that it's a strange experience that other people are having and we're not really sure how to relate. But going through suffering ourselves is a blessing when it comes to the help that we can do for others. It allows us to connect and empathize. The intelligence of this universe is very precise. It knows that our essential nature will remain unchanged, and that regardless of the very real traumas that it may go through, they go through it for very particular reasons as well. Consider how many psychologists today are able to perform such wonderful therapeutic practices because they also know what it's like to go through similar experiences. From one perspective, in the moment, the trauma is a bad thing. But from the psychologist's perspective, who has already worked through it, they consider it their greatest tool in helping others. But it's hard to see that we're in the middle of it when we're in the middle of it. Definitely. But if you can look back in your past now and see how much you've grown because of all the challenges, then that adds to a faith that all the suffering in the world is an opportunity to learn and empathize with others, as well as it is an opportunity to go out in search of the suffering that other people are experiencing so that we may help. And in the long run, maybe not in the moment may not be pleasurable, but there is an enjoyment for the soul in this whole journey. Painted Lady, you had asked, may you ask how often I meditate, and what method do I find best and easiest for beginners? The best and easiest method for beginners is to not meditate at all. For me, meditation is a state of consciousness that can be there in every moment of the day. A state that arises not necessarily from some physical practice like sitting down and closing your eyes, but from a perspective of being one with everything that you encounter. We all hear this. Try to imagine yourself as one with everything. Okay, so to do that, we separate ourselves from everything and then sit in our own silence. Being one with everything means that you are one with everything, all of the experiences in your day, Whether you're walking, talking, sleeping, eating, loving, comforting, that kind of meditation happens within each and every experience. That is the process of karma yoga, yoga of action. In the Bhagavad Gita, the most quoted verse in the entirety of the Mahabharatam is that yoga is skill in action. That is the definition of yoga, union. Skill in action. It says nothing about going and hiding in a cave and meditating on darkness, silence, nothingness, but everything to do with the action that you are capable of in this moment, whatever it may be. Your duty is not the reward, but to the action itself. Become immersed so blissfully in each action that you take, without a sense of doership or identification, for the purpose of service, regardless of outcome. And Anna, you asked, what is the objective of life? Life is the objective, isn't it? To live. The purpose of life is to live. If you are doing it now, you are fulfilling that objective. But it's up to you what to make of this life. And hello, Saint Pashal. And thank you, Moonflower Magic, for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Ahogus. In relation to what we were talking about earlier, you share that it kind of makes sense, but how do we explain a child that, for example, is in a school shooting and passes away? How do you learn from that experience? Good question, and a very sensitive topic, so let's deconstruct this very thoughtfully and carefully. First of all, the reality is not something we can question. There is a great deal of unnecessary suffering when it comes to such terrible acts of violence against children, the most vulnerable. And the suffering is felt by all of us, especially, and the mothers and siblings, fathers, brothers, sisters, family members, and friends that have to experience the loss of their child. There is nothing that I or anyone can say that justifies that action. And the point of the spiritual perspective is not to ever justify the reason why those things happen. Instead, it's about coming to understand how we can approach it with love and forgiveness. From the perspective of Vedanta, Vedanta referring to the ultimate conclusions of the Vedas, humanity's oldest scriptures, the Atma, the nature of the true self, is always beyond suffering, and we have to understand this. Otherwise, we will be crushed by the fact that a life is seemingly taken out of this world. There must be faith in this idea that the essence of that child goes on, that it was not an irreparable loss. The absence of their physical form, their personality, is very much felt by the parents. But the essence of what they are, that continues. And this isn't something with blind faith. It is a conclusion that we can reach through understanding what it even means to be alive. In this life, we animate the body and mind, we give life to it. But what part of the self actually gives life to it? Through a series of directions, which take a lot of qualified training, we can come to directly understand how the essence of who we are remains unchanged, regardless of what we go through in both birth and even death. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I can just read it to you actually, instead of quoting it. So, this is in reference to Arjuna, who is lamenting over the loss of loved ones. It's very applicable here. Lord Krishna says, "While you speak words of wisdom, you are grieving for those who are not to be grieved for. The wise mourn neither for the dead nor for the living. But never indeed I at any time did not exist, nor you, nor all these rulers of humanity, nor verily will any of us ever cease to exist hereafter. As childhood, youth, and old age are for the soul embodied here, similar is the attainment of another body. This being so, a wise person is never bewildered seeing such changes." And it goes on for many chapters about the nature of why exactly, precisely it is that the Atma, the soul or consciousness, cannot be ever destroyed. Now, at the same time, Krishna says that you are speaking words of wisdom by lamenting. So where is the wisdom in that? The wisdom is that we should be advocating for change. We should be standing up for this injustice. That is very important. And most importantly, we should be comforting those who are grieving, ensuring that those who are mourning get the love that they need, the understanding that they require in order to move on themselves. So at the same time, one can understand the unchanging nature of the self. At the same time, we can comfort those disturbed and stand up for those who are the cause of the disturbance. The spiritual path is not about just accepting without acting upon that. There is simultaneously an acceptance and a motivation for activism. Thank you, Amanda, for your rose a moment ago. And thank you, Shelly Sue, for your heartbeat. Hare Rama. Good morning, user 155. Ella V. Cruz. Pardon me. Good morning, Adeline. What chapter was that? That was the second chapter, an introduction to yoga. Physic, you had asked, what is the point of existence? Question mark, exclamation mark, 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 question mark, exclamation mark. That is the point of existence. To ask questions and exclaim. To question our existence and to exclaim our existence. Again and again and again and again and again. That's all we do. We find purpose in the expression of this mystery itself. Orle, you share that you see divinity in the way we are discussing current tragedies. We are moving away from vengeance and towards restorative justice. I love that. And finding bliss, you are clarifying what change? In reference to our discussion on the tragedies that young children often face, the change comes from within. That these are people who are so disturbed, have experienced such an absence of love, that they want to propagate that absence of love in other people's lives. It's very naive and very, very immature. Emotional maturity is precisely that change. Coming to understanding that if we feel an absence of love, then instead of using that as an indication that we should take other loves away from people's lives, their beloved, then we should fill their lives with love so that we also come to understand what it's like to feel love. Right now, our emotions work like this. I'm not experiencing this, so that in order for understanding to happen, I must take away that from you. Then we can understand each other. But the courageous thing to do is say, I'm missing something, and you have it. Maybe you can teach me what it's like to have it, so that we can understand each other. Rather than being here and bringing everyone else down to understand, see everyone else up there and bring yourself up to come to understanding. Then we can all move upwards together. Shadow Jerk, you had asked, how am I so calm? I've discovered that there's a lot of ways to be instead of being calm, and I haven't found much success in being that way. But I have found that being calm is very productive. It serves as a place of stability in order to do important things. And thank you, Moonflower Magic, for your tiny, tiny yippee. And thank you, Lori, for your subscription here. I definitely look forward to adding the little yams for you as stickers. Something small I can offer in return, but in any other way, I may be able to increase your comfort here in this Sangha. Do let me know. And thank you, Jared, for your subscription that you sent to Anne. I appreciate that opportunity that you have offered to Anne and to me, if they choose to be open to it, to connect a little deeper. Thank you. Hari Om Tat Sat. Simon, you had asked, you have a question for me. What has been the most difficult issue for me to balance in my being? Although what I go through is incomparable to what other people go through, for me the biggest battle has always been within. And it has been a relatively recent thing in my life that I struggle with anxiety. For my childhood, even through the childhood trauma, I was seemingly able to persevere without getting anxious. And then I probably realized how to repress it at an early age. And then it's all coming out in adulthood, all of my fears and insecurities now. Learning to befriend those sides of me, to love them, that has been a difficult challenge for me, and one that has also been the most fruitful when it comes to my peace, my calmness. If it wasn't for that anxiety, perhaps I wouldn't have a strong enough reason to be so desperately in awe of the peacefulness that is possible. And hello, Dob Darker. Thank you for your heartbeat. Happy birthday, Ella. I am happy you're here. Happiness aloud. You appreciate how I listen to each question and respond creatively. Thank you for the opportunity, everyone. I love receiving the same question because it gives me a chance to look at it from yet another perspective. Woo woo, you ask, what do I wear for weddings? Well, I've only been to, I was going to say one, but no, I've been to 2 weddings. The first was my own parents' wedding. I was very honored to watch my own parents get married. I was the best man and the ring bearer to my parents' wedding. And that's an honor that is so precious to me. I had a tiny suit. I was dressed up like a little gentleman. I think I was 5 years old or thereabouts. I don't remember exactly. And then when I was a little older, I got to witness my best friend's parents get married as well. And I also had a suit, but it was a little bigger that time. Thank you, Vanessa, for your hand hearts. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Do I remember both weddings? Asks Anthony. I do. I remember at my parents' wedding, everyone was crying and I couldn't figure out why. I said, this is such a happy time, isn't it? Why are you all sad? Aren't you excited? I guess I didn't understand what happy tears were. Froggy Fuzz, you share that you once asked, who is the meditator? I haven't meditated since. Indeed. No one meditates. But meditation does happen. Aloha, Chris. You share that you're happy that I went through all the things I did and chose my responsibility for them. What a wonderful thing to say, and I receive that with such love. Thank you. You had asked, what if the universe meditation makes us be? I like that. We meditate on the universe. The universe meditates on us. And thank you, Ragnhildur, for your heart me. And thank you, Moonflower Magic, for your 10 ginger man. Hari Om Tat Sat. Grant Griffiths, you ask, what's my view on homosexual? I don't really have one. I don't have views on how people engage in their own sexuality. I know that for me, I have love for everyone. And there is always that possibility there of that love evolving into something physical or intimate or a variety of different experiences that one could have. And through our eons of incarnations, epoch after epoch, I am sure that we have all had our fair share of experiences of every variety. The soul by itself has no gender, no sex. Males get reborn into females. Females get reborn into males. How would you feel if you were a male and your soulmate was a female, but in your next life you got reborn both as males? Would you reject your soulmate just because they have changed gender on the physical level? Well, if you truly loved them, it wouldn't matter what was on the outside. It was all about what was on the inside. And you fell in love with what's on the inside, not the outside. Have a good evening, Anthony. Chelsea, you ask, if your next life is your last thought, isn't your next life basically a dice roll? There is a level of probability there. There's also a level of certainty, and it's a trade-off of how conscious you are living. If you are fully conscious, then you get to fully decide. If you are fully unconscious, then it is fully out of your hands. Most of us live in habitual thinking. We let the mind think in comfortable ways. When something gets angry with us, our mind reacts in anger as well. When someone is happy with us, our mind reacts with happiness too. Our mind exists in a reactive state, and when it exists like that, then we have no control over it. Only what happens to us controls it, doesn't it? The spiritual path is exactly that point, that so far we are letting our mind control us rather than serve us. And that shift happens when we forgive the world and become proactive thinkers rather than reactive thinkers. We let our thoughts be guided from an inner reality rather than a material reality external to us. When you do that, you become in control of your destiny. Emma, you ask, what's the name of this song? It's playing in the background. It's called Breathe With Me, sleep meditation music. Breathe with me. Hello, Leia. You are cleaning your room. It's gonna look so wonderful when it's done. As we clean our room, we also clean our mind at the same time. The world is but our inner self pushed out. I was playing Minecraft a year ago, and I was thinking, why is it important to organize my inventory? Why is it important to make a beautiful house? To actually beat the game and to do everything I want to do? It's just a video game. Why does it matter if I step away now? Then I realized it is important that I finish my video game responsibilities, because I'm not just playing the game. I'm interfacing with my own subconscious, and every decision I make in the game also has an influence on my subconscious. So no, Mom, I have to play for 5 more minutes so that I can make sure that my subconscious is attended to. Thank you, Grain, for your tiny and pair of roses. Hariom Tatsa and Yippee! I was so good at convincing my parents to let me play for longer as a kid. They would always say, you should grow up to become a lawyer. You get everyone out of everything. And I said, Mom, that's the exact reason I shouldn't become a lawyer. Because there'd be too many criminals on the street. I would come up with presentations for my parents, explaining top 10 reasons why you should let me play this violent video game at such a young age. Good night, Om. Chelsea, you shared that you just bought your daughter Minecraft, and she's excited about pumpkins because she's a vegetarian. You can make pumpkin pie. I don't think you can eat pumpkins directly, but yes, you can make pumpkin pie. It's very good food source. I used to love finding pumpkins too, because they're kind of rare. Every now and then, you stumble across pumpkins and it's like, oh boy, now I have some seeds to plant that I can grow my own. Did I hear vegetarian? Says Sky Guardian. You are so happy when you hear people engaging in Ahimsa, non-violence. Leia, you share that my hair looks blue, but you can tell there's a light. Indeed. Actually, I'm using a blue screen right now, rather than a green screen. So I'm using the blue light to just increase its ability to cut out the background from the foreground. You can also make a jack-o'-lantern helmet. Then you can fight Endermans, or you can be among them without them getting angry at you. Sky Guardian, you recommend we read from the Vachanamrut? Yes. Or actually, the Vachanamrut. It's like the Vachanamrut, but a little shorter. Thank you, Jarrett, for your 40 roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ben, you shared that you just ate Ahimsa food. Popcorn. It's funny, we don't realize actually how much of our diet is already vegetarian. Popcorn, potato chips, salads, pasta salads, a lot of pasta, so much pasta. Bread, fruit, veggies. Most junk food is also vegetarian. Okay, let us read from another section of the Vachanamrut. This is a wonderful book, a collection of about 300 discourses from a great being known as Bhagwan Swami Narayan, who has gotten his name due to celebrating the effectiveness of the Swami Narayan mantra, which actually is the one we'll be doing at the end of this stream today. Today we are reading Gadhada 141. Ekoham Bahusyam. On the evening of Maha Sudhi the 5th, Samvat 1876, or the 20th of January, 1820, Shriji Maharaj was sitting on a large decorated cot on the platform under the neem tree near the mandir of Sri Vasudev Narayan in Dada Khachaur's Darbar in Gadhada. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. He was also adorned with garlands of yellow flowers. Bunches of yellow flowers had been placed upon his ears, and tassels of yellow flowers were dangling from his pug. At that time, an assembly of munis, as well as devotees from various places, had gathered before him. Then Shriji Maharaj said, "Please engage in a question-answer dialogue." Thereupon, Nrsimhanand Swami asked, "Maharaj, many pundits and Vedantis in the world interpret the Vedic verse, Ekoham Bahusyam Prajayeya from the Chandogya Upanishad, 6th canto, 2nd chapter, 3rd verse, to mean the one God present at the time of dissolution himself takes the form of all jivas, individual beings, and Ishvars, gods, by his own will. But this belief can only be accepted by someone who is a fool. Obviously. I guess that makes me a fool also. We have accepted your refuge, so this belief does not make sense in our minds. Our understanding is that God is indivisible, and that he does not divide and assume the forms of various jivas and ishvars. Therefore, we can only fully understand the meaning of this verse if you explain it to us. Shriji Maharaj then explained, the meaning of that Vedic verse is not as they interpret it to be. In fact, it has a different meaning altogether. In the prose portion of the Ved Stuti, it is stated, Svakruta Vichitra Yonishu Vishaniva Hetu Taya Tatama Tash Jakasyana Lavat Svakrutanuk Kurtihi. Some long Sanskrit words there from the Srimad Bhagavata, the 10th canto, 87th chapter, 19th verse. This means Purushottam Bhagwan creates and enters the various types of life forms as their cause and is their antaryami, and he inspires them to a greater or lesser degree. More specifically, at the time of creation, Purushottam Bhagwan, who transcends even Akshar, inspires Akshar. As a result, Purush manifests from Akshar. After entering Akshar, Purushottam enters Purush, and in the form of Purush inspires Prakriti. This is a description on the hierarchy of being, how nature, Prakriti, is inspired by the cosmic person, Purusha. In this way, as Purushottam successfully entered the various entities, the activities of creation took place. Thereafter, Pradhan Purushis were produced from Prakriti Purush. From Pradhan Purush, Mahatattva was produced. From Mahatattva, the three types of Ahamkar, ego, was produced. From Ahamkar, the Bhuts, the Vishais, experiences of the senses, the Indriyas, the senses themselves, the Andhakarans, the minds, and their presiding devas were produced. From those, Virat Purush was produced. From the lotus extending from his navel, Brahma, the creator, was produced. From that Brahma, Marichi, and the other Prajapatis, the lords, were produced. From them, Kashyap and other Prajapatis were produced. From them, Indra, the lord of the world, and the other devas, the demons, and all of the mobile and immobile creation were produced. You are all memorizing this, correct? Just kidding. Purushottam Bhagwan enters and dwells in all of the above as their cause and antaryami. However, he does not manifest in Prakriti Purush to the extent he manifests in Akshar, and he does not manifest in Pradhan Purush to the extent that he manifests in Prakriti Purush, and he does not manifest in Mahatattva and the rest of the 24 elements to the extent that he manifests in Pradhan Purush. and he does not manifest in Virat Purush to the extent that he manifests in the 24 elements, and he does not manifest in Brahma to the extent that he manifests in Virat Purush, and he does not manifest in Marichi and others to the extent that he manifests in Brahma, and he does not manifest in Kashyap to the extent that he manifests in Marichi and others, and he does not manifest in Indra and the other devas to the extent that he manifests in Kashyap, and he does not manifest in human beings to the extent that he manifests in Indra and the other devas, and he does not manifest in animals to the extent that he manifests in human beings. In this manner, Purushottam Bhagwan resides in all, to a greater or lesser degree, as their cause and Antaryami. So, although God is present in all beings, there is a hierarchy of that presence, more in some places, lesser in others. For example, fire is latent within wood, scientifically, as the potential energy. Large fire resides in large pieces of wood. Long fire resides in a long piece of wood. And warped fire resides in a warped piece of wood. In a similar way, Purushottam Bhagwan manifests in various entities with various degrees of power according to the task to be accomplished through that entity. Purushottam Bhagwan also resides in Akshar, Prakriti, Purush, and others as their Antaryami. A lot of Sanskrit today, huh? However, because of the differences in the capacity of those entities, there is a difference in their power. So in fact, there is only one Purushottam Bhagwan, and it is he who enters all and resides in them as Antaryami. But he does not consider himself, my apologies, but he does not himself become the Jivas and Ishvars by assuming many forms. That is how that Vedic verse should be interpreted. Got that? Oh, how lovely it is to experience such an intricate detail of the hierarchy of being and creation, and how God manifests in all forms. I hope even an essence of this teaching was conveyed, and that is enough for me. So thank you for listening, and of course we may return to our regular format. And thank you, Vanessa, for your trio of roses you sent whilst we read. And Davini, thank you for your hard thing. Hari Om Tat Sat. Chris, you ask, do I like tripartite tractate? It's a good question. I'm not sure if I like what I don't know. Never heard of this before. Perhaps you can teach me what it is. Can I turn down the background music? Yes, Melinda. Thank you. This is a louder song, doesn't it? Seem to be. It's a Gnostic book. Interesting. I must tell you that of all of the lovely readers here, I am incomparable to you in that I am not very learned or well read myself. There's a lot of books that I could be reading that I'm not. And that is why I'm so grateful for all of you for allowing me the time to read to you, because it helps me read myself. Jackie, you share I'm glowing today. Aw. It's so relaxing. Oh, I mixed two comments together. Jackie, you said you're glowing today, you look beautiful. And then Nikki, you shared that you love the background music, it's so relaxing. Thank you both for finding something in this life that you resonate with. You recommend it? Well, thank you for your lovely recommendation. How are all you feeling? I would like to know what sort of emotions you are carrying at this time. How I can hold space for you here in this Sangha together. We are approaching the 2-hour mark. Ben, you shared that you ate too much popcorn. I know what that feels like. And Chris, you're happy that you ran into us. It's helping you a bit. I'm happy to hear that. Chelsea, I am calming your nerves. That's good. Better that than making you nervous. And Simon, you shared that in the past when you helped others spiritually, it gave you so much more back to you. Same with me. Absolutely. Yeah. I almost feel guilty of helping, because the help I get in return seems like it's so much bigger than the help that I am able to give. You enjoyed my reading, Delilah. Oh, good. Sky Guardian, you share that people are still arguing on that super interview. Over 200 plus comments. It's madness. My goodness. Well, we certainly sparked a conversation, didn't we? I can hope that such a conversation is productive and people are being as respectful as they can be. Chris, you share that it's not a problem to take the love you're giving as you give it. What a wonderful sentiment. Feel no guilt for your vibe of love you receive back from your own actions. Very validating. Thank you. You share they're being super disrespectful and arguing and calling each other sick. Well, perhaps it is best to take a step away yourself from being overwhelmed by that negativity and just let yourself have some fresh air. They're working out their own karmas. Leave them to that. And give love where you can. Yes, the host, you feel bad for him. Rahul, he deserves some extra love during this time, and thank you for reminding me. I will write a comment, or I'll message him personally, reminding him of how much love he gives and It is my hope that he doesn't take on any of the negativity himself. Hello, Tim Perry. You ask if I have another account trying to find the Garden of Eden video. No, this is my only account, and maybe someone else has uploaded it, but on this channel, where it was hosted originally, I did private it. But I'd be happy to talk about the Garden of Eden and the various allegories that are present there, if you would love to have a discussion on it here. Yes? Alright. For me, the main message of the Garden of Eden is to put ourselves there. Consider it like a story that took place not long ago in our shared distant past, but in each one of our pasts, unique to our upbringing. Consider that blissful garden like childhood, and growing up to be leaving that garden. We grow up from eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. How many ofs are in that sentence, or in that phrase? The fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In the same way, we are forced to grow up, come to knowledge of good and evil. But that is our mistake. We leave our childhood the moment we feel like it's our duty to have knowledge over these things. Fortunately, returning to the garden is just the inverse process. And it was in our inherent nature to leave the garden. Eve, the feminine spirit, is all about love and nurturing. By eating from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, she thought that she was doing the right thing, because if I have knowledge over what's good and what's evil, then I'll be able to love even more. So you can't blame the feminine part of ourselves for making that mistake. It is part of our motherly nature inherent in all beings. As I said, the good news is that that process can be undone. We can let go of our perspectives which divide the world into good and evil. We can recognize it all as one and forgive that which we deem as evil, and take humility in the guidance of that which is good, and we can see all suffering as an opportunity to love without judgment, without knowing what is right or wrong, just by being there. Hello, Yana. And hello, Delilah. Thank you for your little crown. And hello, Ren. Hariom Tatsa and VYV Fragrance. Thank you for your heartbeat. I love such words of wisdom you share, Chris. That the right thing is always your next step, not your last one. And hello, Joao, from Portugal. Good night, Leah. You have only properly judged yourself when it affects your next actions, not when you feel guilty. You may never properly judge anyone but yourself, and even that is a challenging thing to come to. Definitely. Because God made you out of themselves, and that's the only way, the only one who judges you the right way. I love that. Aris, you share you don't like the new setup? You always skip, it's too bright. Well, screens do have brightness sections. Maybe we can do a night scene as well. Like we can have a night forest. That's a good idea. Hello, Trond. Kakara, you ask if I smoke. Oh, I used to, let me tell you. Some people have a hard time believing that I used to be a big stoner. Other people say that it's very much believable. I understand them both. You know, in Cannabis, in cannabis there are chemicals called cannabinoids, THC and CBT being the two main ones. They interface directly with receptors in our brain called cannabinoid receptors. Some people use this to argue that it goes to show that we really have evolved with them. And although that may be true, what is also true is that we also have endocannabinoids, which are created by the human body and bind to the same cannabinoid receptors. External substances merely hijack that system that's already within us. So when some people say that you can get high on life, they mean that physiologically. The same receptors can be activated through endocannabinoid, endo meaning within. Your body is a factory for blissful and terror-inducing chemicals, and you are its manager. As the manager of the facility, would you want to produce a terrible product or a great one? It's your duty to produce good experiences within you. As you wish, Sky Guardian. I shall check my email. Brenda, you like the new setup? Artist says, I loved the old setup. Well, can't win them all, can we? But we can come to a balance. I can certainly understand that being bright might be too much of a visual experience if you're trying to get to sleep. Maybe we can alternate from daytime scenes and nighttime scenes. That seems fair to me. Froggy Fuzz, you share that tryptamines, however, bind to serotonin receptors and alter how the senses work. leading to trips. I like how they're called tryptamines. I don't know if that's a happy coincidence. And I love how serotonin receptors are what they bind to. That's very interesting. We don't normally think of those receptors as the ones conducive to a spiritual experience, but rather a kind of satisfaction. Maybe if you are so satisfied with life, so content with what the present moment has to offer, it begins to grow and evolve in ways that you didn't notice before. That's fair, says Aris. Good to know. You share it. Tell you should be grateful for the moment and every breath. It can be difficult to come to gratitude for this moment when it's such a mixed bag full of both joy and misery. We can be grateful for the parts of this moment that are conducive to our joy, even if the other experiences seem to overwhelm. We're grateful that the floor under our feet isn't collapsing, that there's a roof over our heads. Grateful that this body is well fed, that our senses work. We have a mind that can reason, people that do love us. So much work that we are capable of. That much potential we can be grateful for. Being specific with our gratitude, that's important. It's hard to be grateful in general for life when there's lots of things that are challenging a part of it. Stacy, you ask, do I know the meaning of seeing Kali? Do I know the meaning of seeing Kali? Kali is the Divine Mother in her most angry form. You know the meaning of seeing your mother angry? It means she's there to protect you. Sometimes from yourself. Whenever your mother is angry, you have to bow. Say, okay, mother, I concede. My ego has been getting in the way. You know what is best for me. It is not only the blessing of the mother to get angry, but her duty to, for the sake of your love, your evolution. Anger is a divine aspect of the feminine. Anger is divinely feminine and effeminately divine. G to Infinity, you share that you dreamed you were Kali once. It was a good dream. More than just a dream, my friend. You see the symbolism of Ma Kali having so many heads, so many arms, so many feet. Is it because she's just a mutant creature? It has symbolism. Because there's one head, pair of arms and feet for each one of us. The Divine Mother is incarnate through everyone, and therefore she has thousands of heads, thousands of arms, thousands of legs, because there are that many mothers in the world. including ourselves. Even born as a male, I have to recognize the motherly qualities inherent in me also. Consider a father whom has had the mother of their child leave. They have to take on the role of a mother in many ways from that moment onward, which means that the motherly qualities are in them also, just more dormant, waiting for a necessity to provoke them, or invoke them, rather. Honey Badger Heals, you ask, why are people scared of Kali? Because we don't understand her. We currently live in the Kali Yuga, which is the age of Kali. And in the Kali Yuga, humanity's spirituality declines to a minimum. Our leaders become hypocritical. They are bitter, always quarreling, so much contentment. Power becomes withdrawn from the vulnerable. At the same time, that's the wish of the mother. That is all Kali's doing. And she's doing it for the final act of the play. In the yogic system, there are 4 ages. There's Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga is the final act, the climax. It's in this age we are expected to go into apocalyptic settings, cyberpunk, dystopia. And from one perspective it brings so much suffering, but from another perspective it's also such an aesthetic. We love watching movies that bring out these themes because they speak to our darkest nature. That is Kali. Kali literally means darkness. Also time. The time of darkness. Kali Yuga. Remember that this whole universe is a Leela, and it's her turn to do something incredible with it. There is so much trust given to her that she is doing all of this materialism for a reason, for the ultimate spiritual growth of everyone. So when one sees all of these atrocities in the world, from one perspective they are a bad thing, but at the same time we are also lacking faith in the beauty of our mother, Kali, who is preparing for us the most epic part of the story, where we fall into the deepest abyss of ego and ignorance, only to find the purity of hope that will remain regardless of the trials and triumph that we have to go through. This colossal spiritual war that Kali is heading us into is divine and part of the play. We are only scared because we lack trust in her. That Mother Earth is being guided towards something beautiful. But it is still also our role to play to be in service of everyone affected by it. And that is how we can bring out the motherly aspect in all of us too. The more suffering there is apparent in the world, the more that allows us to be motherly, the more people we may consider our children and take them under our wing. Kali is actually bringing out the highest potential in the feminine, showing how in times of dis-ease and destruction, we all could use a little motherly help. It's our essential nature as Shakti, as a potency of this universe. So that is why people are afraid of Kali Ma. Because she brings out all the fears and insecurities so that we may attend to them with motherly affection. And thank you, Nina Heel, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And who? Thank you for your bubble tea. Who do I have to thank? This yo. Hello, Michael. Jonathan, you ask, do I think Jesus Christ is a lie? Absolutely not. Even atheists can agree that regardless of if you believe in the divinity of the Son of Man, you have to agree with the words that he is sharing about extending support to your neighbor. Treat thy neighbor as you would thyself. That if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could ask a mountain to move and it would, or a tree to unplant itself from the ground and walk into the sea. These are universal messages. Who can disagree? You're very welcome, Honey Badger. I think every time Sky Guardian texts me, you can hear the little notification go off. Faxi Sinbad. Faxi Sinbad. Foxy Sinbad. There. You ask, do I get manifestations of Kali? If you're asking if I get that darshan, that divine seeing, Mother has not blessed me with such. But I do get glimpses of her in my own mother. That's for sure. And thank you, Anna, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. Annalie, you ask, who is Sky Guardian? A good question. Sky Guardian is one that looks over this space with a kind of guardianship. Sky Guardian in Sanskrit could be translated to Deus Piter, which means Sky Father. It is from where we get the term Jupiter and Zeus as well, and the concept of Sky Father. It is the idea that that source is watching over us from above. The Father of the sky, the place in which this space has emerged. Sky Guardian, Satchitananda. Sky Guardian is the source of everything I read. And the mantras we do. Sky Guardian is my friend from New Jersey, who always attends these sanghas. And through his love for seva, shares what speaks to him and his heart. In the form of books from his guru or childhood sampradaya, in the form of music that speaks to his soul. And thank you, Craig, for your heart me an ice cream cone. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sky G ensures the flow of our Sangha here, says G to Infinity. Indeed. An angelic force at that, capable of so much love. Was/is Sky Guardian XY, my teacher. I learn a lot from him. But he is too humble to call himself a teacher. He would probably say that he is a fellow spiritual seeker on this path to liberation. And you can talk to him here, he's in chat. Although I speak of him with elusive words, he's also very real, human being. I thought I'd take this moment to speak highly of him because I have so much respect for the things he does. And thank you, Hu, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, 31 planes of existence. You are back. Been traveling, but back to the Sangha. Missed me. Well, welcome. No matter how long it's been, I will always treat you as though you have only left a moment ago. Goose, you share that you want a smooth vanilla and cookie ice cream. My goodness, you are making me hungry for the same thing. And hello, Alice. Foxy, Sinbad, you ask, do I see my thoughts? Are they visible or invisible? If invisible, how can you see them? It is very difficult to explain how thoughts are seen because there is a visual component. Unless you have aphantasia, then it's more challenging for you to associate sight with thought. But it is there. It's not perfect. Some people describe it as a superimposition on the visual field where there's like another layer of thoughts and you can see it. But that's not totally true, because thought takes place almost in a different dimension. And I mean that in a very mathematical sense, like you cannot describe it physically in relation to where the objects of your sight are. It is in a different place. And it isn't like seeing totally. It reminds you of what it's like to see. A hint of something. It almost is sparkly, flashing in and out of existence, and if you don't concentrate, it just decays instantly into formlessness. Maybe you might only see a part of it. You get a hint of its color or shape, but to truly get a full picture of an object in your mind, that requires meditation. The purpose of samadhi is exactly that. To meditate so one-pointedly on an object that you feel it just as present as everything else in your life. You can see the practicality of this when it comes to something like God. If you don't meditate on God, then how will you recognize the presence? You have to train yourself to be able to visualize that divinity here and now. It certainly doesn't come naturally. And thank you, Delilah, for your pair of ice cream cones and your cloud bread and cake. Hari Om Tat Sat. You're welcome, Jocelyn. Happy to have you here always. Tia, you share that you will be operated on tomorrow. Can I say some kind words to you? Remember that you are in the hands of trusted professionals. And not only are their surgical instruments being guided by their experience and wisdom, also they themselves as individuals are being guided by the wisdom of the universe. So too, you are blessed to have this opportunity in such an age where medical advancement can treat such things. Could you imagine this kind of operation being done 100, 1,000 years ago? Oh. Without anesthesia? Oh. Don't worry. It'll be over quicker than you think. And it is in their best interest also to give you the most comfortable experience, because it helps them do their job more efficiently also. Your body is being taken care for, and in the meantime, you take care of your mind. Fill it with comforting, inspiring thoughts, and recognize what will be made possible for you by the success of this procedure. And I love that, Kuz. You are safe no matter what they do. And I love that, Dana Lee. Within every man, woman, and child is a fundamental belief of a power greater than themselves that we are a part of, which is the beautiful irony of it. It's greater than us, but also inside of us and fully accessible by us. Nick, you ask, am I rocking with Bashar? He's very addicting, isn't it? I've listened to some Bashar very recently because a lot of you wonder about him. And I thought, I've been asked about Bashar so much, I should do some research, I should listen to him. So I have been listening to him. I don't have anything negative to say. I've only had a positive experience listening so far. Now, naturally, of course, it's unfamiliar for me to believe that some supernatural or intelligent entity is speaking through him, but for me it doesn't matter exactly where the words are coming from, because that's not the point. The point is not to be impressed. The point is to understand the meaning that is self-evident in the words, and that much is impressive alone. I think the words speak for themselves. And they are very powerful. Definitely. So, I don't know if I rock with Bashar personally, since I've never met him. But I rock with Bashar's messages that I have heard. Definitely. I'm glad you like the waterfall, Phoenix. It's actually just a tapestry. looks weird. I don't know what's happening when I do that. There's a window behind it. And if I snap my fingers, it'll all just be a dream. And now we're in the void, where we've always been. But that's okay. Did I thank you, Nina Heel, for your ginger man? I think I did. But I'll thank you again just for assurance. And thank you, Isabella, for your trio of roses. Hariom Tat Sat. Kuz, you ask what to search. Bashar what? Where to start? Just Bashar. That's how I found him, at least. And Ian, you share that you woke up to the feminine, masculine, entropic, creative archetypes recently. Isn't it wonderful? Shakti, Shaktiman. Purusha and Prakriti. Agent and agency. Potential and potency, creator and creativity, thank you, Tia. Almost over, asks MJ. Yes, we should begin wrapping things up. I'm losing track of time. Time is losing track of me. Where am I going? Into our question of the day as we conclude today's Sangha, followed by a short reading, and of course, a mantra chanting session that I will delight in you joining, if you're interested. Kuz, you ask, the whole system needs a revamp, but how to do it? By revamping our inner system. And then projecting that outwards. See, projection is only a bad thing if what you're projecting itself is bad. If you find the peace in yourself and you project that peace outwards, then it becomes a miracle. But I have my question of the day for you all today. Today I'm wondering, what makes you capable of making a difference? I'm not wondering about what kind of difference you want to make, nor am I wondering about how you will make that difference. I mean, you personally. Tell me something inspiring about yourself. Empower yourself. Tell me what makes you capable. What is your unique quality that you may give to the world? We don't think about this much often, do we? It's difficult to see this capacity within ourselves. Painted Lady, you share strength to make the change. Indeed, wonderful. Good. And Kuz, you share by being you. Precisely. Kimi, you share knowing pain so that you may understand love and how to share it. Beautiful. I so see the truth in that. And Twist the Wrist, you share determination and resolute commitment to the purpose, Absolutely. This guy you share to be empathetic. And Anna, you share by listening. So true. Natalia, you share persistence. And Jamie, you share just smile. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Like the penguins of Madagascar. Juhan, you share that you find the deeper our suffering, the more we're capable to make changes. People, environment, etc. Isabella, you share experience. Yes. Ben, you share sensitivity. That's a very wise perspective. Curly Fry, you share by living a life of patience, kindness, and being open-minded. And you echo patience, watcher, as well as understanding and forgiveness in the absence of contrition. Contrition? I'm unfamiliar with this word. Perhaps it is a new word for me to learn, or maybe it's a contraction of contradiction. And Chuhan, you share. Kinda like the idea, we felt hurt, etc., and don't want to have anyone else hurt the same. Definitely. And what a powerful way of giving meaning to your own hurt. I am hurt, therefore I know how important it is to relieve others of their hurt. Jocelyn, you shared that your ADHD makes you good at navigating in chaos. Very good indeed. Anna, you share your willpower. Goose, you share that you had money to give me. No, don't worry. You may lack in the money department, but you certainly aren't lacking in your ability to express generosity in other ways. And even that sentiment shared is more than enough for me. Thank you. Nina Hio, you share being cheerful. G to infinity, you share knowing there is nothing for you to fear. You're silly AF, says Chris. Indeed. Can't say stretch your solar plexus. Yep, I can. Says Foxy Sinbad. It is solar plexus day today. Rick, you share love and light everywhere for all. D, you share first-hand experience. Very practical. That's quite alright, Watcher. I think the sentiment of your comment carried anyway. G to infinity, you share the Christian prayer as act of contrition. Contrition is the state of feeling remorseful or penitent. Well, that's another word. Penitent. Thank you, Cody. I appreciate you expanding my vocabulary. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with what Watcher said. Forgiving when they aren't sorry. Yeah, I love that. Denise, you ask, dude, weren't you really smart? Yep, in the past tense, no longer. I have donated my intelligence to charity so that other people could use it more effectively than I can. Rick, you share. Listen with love and speak from the heart with love, compassion, and empathy. And thank you, Eerie Tide, for your heartmeat. And thank you, Marcel, for your cloud bread. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Mrs. Pennyapple, you share your willingness to use your challenging experiences to help others with theirs. And Kills, you share knowing that it's possible. Hello, Marcel. Eerie Tide, you share the question, what do you do if you don't feel like you can make a difference? Then you wait until you know where you can. Making a difference requires a resource, and the resource that all of you have been alluding to is experience yourself. Experience of what needs to change. This is an experience everyone has, including you, especially you. We might not know what to do with it yet, and that's part of the process also. With patience, it will become obvious how your experience becomes useful, not just to your own unique journey, but to everyone around you too. And Itza Bitza, you share that you think you are capable due to empathy and resilience. I love that. And indeed you are. Your handsome look, says Nish. We gotta love some self-love. Addy, you share what makes you capable of making a difference is the love in your heart. So true. Moonflower Magic, you share that you are a social worker and a nurse for almost 40 years, still learning. I love that. And I'm happy to hear that, Eerie Tide, as well. Thank you all for relating with my question of the day today. Always so wonderful to hear acknowledgement of your own potential. That alone can be sufficient for making that difference that you see in the world. Sakura, you ask, what color do I prefer? I prefer the whole rainbow. I love color. It's not that one color has all my love. It's that all color has my one love. Now let us read from a short section of In Love at Ease as we conclude today's Sangha. This book was written by Yogi Trivedi, who was a devotee of the protagonist of this book, Puramukh Swami Maharaj. It is his love, his ease, that is the topic of this book. We are discussing everyday spirituality with him, learning about how we can take some insight from the love, the ease that this spiritual teacher to millions embodied so effortlessly. Here's another love story. The cemetery and crematorium was empty when Swami Sri arrived. He was early to fulfill a promise. Swami Sri stated that morning in 1990 Swami Sri started that morning in 1990 in Colchester, England, and arrived in London at P.N. Mortzaria's house for a Padramani. Swami Sri instructed the sadhus to take Hare Krishna Maharaj in their car, which is a little idol he keeps everywhere of his Ishta Devata, a form of the divine that speaks to his heart. He also had the sadhus place his bags and Hare Krishna Maharaj's ritual utensils and water jug in the other car. The sadhus were baffled, but they complied. After leaving the bhaktas, the devotees' house, Swami Sri instructed the driver of the other car carrying Hare Krishna Maharaj to return to the mandir, the temple house of worship, and instructed his driver, Arun Kumar, to take their car towards South London. Swami Sri told him that he needed to get there on time. Arun Kumar sped through the streets of London towards an address provided by Swami Sri. Arun Kumar's eyes widened as he realized they had come to a funeral home in the middle of a cemetery. Swami Sri got out of the car and sat on a bench in the cemetery. He waited for 45 minutes, reading the names on the tombstones to pass the time. The attendant sadhu and Arun Kumar were still trying to figure out what they were doing here. The family members soon arrived for Jai Krishna Bhai's final rites. They were surprised to see Swami Sri there. "When did you get here? I didn't even know you were coming," cried Jai Krishna Bhai's son. A few days ago, Jai Krishna Bhai had called Swami Sri while he was in Crawley and requested, "Please give me moksha, liberation. I am ready to go. And please come bless me at my cremation rites." Swami Sri had given him his word. Swami Sri performed the final rites for Jai Krishna Bhai's mortal body by pushing the coffin into the crematorium. Swami Sri's promises stood the test of time, even death. He showed up even when others were unaware. After all, true love survives death. One of the oldest articulations of Swami Sri's bhakti is seva, or selfless service. Swami Sri served because he loved. Though many of the interactions in this chapter represent Swami Sri's desire and willingness to serve, there are a few as powerful as a guru feeding, serving, and cleaning up after his disciples. Swami Sri had traveled to Rajasthan along with Pragat Bhagat and Dev Charandas Swami. They were staying in a village near a stone quarry. There was no running water or electricity, and the scorching summer sun beat down on them, third time's the charm, during the day, while the ground radiated that heat at night. The attendants fell ill because of the heat and lack of food in that remote village. During the day, Swami Sri traveled from quarry to quarry, carrying out an agna, an injunction by his guru, Yogi Ji Maharaj. At the end of the day, he would return and care for his attendants. Unfortunately, Pragat Bhagat's fever only worsened. One evening, when Swami Sri returned, he saw both of his attendants in bed and their spirits broken. He approached Pragat Bhagat and put his hand on his head. It was extremely hot. Swami Sri gently massaged his head and prepared some rice to feed him. There were no spoons at that time, so Swami Sri fed him with his own hands. He comforted them about their health and the living conditions. He promised they would all leave in a few days. Several sadhus and bhaktas, monks and devotees, had recounted incidents in which Swami Sri massaged their feet and heads to help them feel better. His spirit of service extended beyond the individuals close to him. It reached out to the world. Swami Sri had been seen washing public bathrooms, picking up used dental sticks, and even helping a youth roll out a massive garbage trolley, all in silence, when the cameras and eyes were not on him. His spirit of service molded the culture of the organization and set an example for the volunteers and sadhus. Often, that service required sacrifice, giving that which was dear to you. Swami Sri did not hesitate to give what was his to others in need. Yes, he could have requested for more through the community, but Swami Sri never hesitated to give what was his. During his meeting with His Holiness Tulsi Bai complained about his shabby eyeglasses being too heavy for his ears and nose. It was difficult to bear the weight of the economical but heavy frame. Swami Sri called his personal attendant and asked for his own eyeglasses. Swami Sri took off Tulsi Bhai's eyeglasses and slid on his own pair in their place. He asked Tulsi Bai how they looked and if they felt lighter. Tulsi Bai nodded his head in approval. Swami Sri said, "Perfect. These are your new glasses. Consider this my seva, in return for all you have done." Tulsi Bai's face lit up like a full moon. He walked out of the door with a smile and his new glasses on his face. Swami Sri was willing to give whatever he had for those in need. In another instance, while on a pilgrimage in Prayagraj, Swami Sri gave away the snacks and groceries the sadhus had prepared for him to a group of pilgrims. Giving gave him joy. It was his love language. Swami Sri's love broke down barriers and removed hatred from hearts. Swami Sri counseled thousands of parents, children, families, business partners, and even entire villages to end feuds and build bridges. He condemned retaliation and spent hundreds of hours with both parties, alone and together, to seek resolution. His selfless desire to unite without wanting anything in return eventually softened the most stubborn adversaries. A prominent example of this was the violent feud, and later stalemate, between a group of 45 villages represented by Odorka and Kukad in the Bhavnagar district of Saurashtra. The feud had been going on for over 200 years and had led to scores of deaths over a small area of disputed property. The feud was solidified by a custom of hatred called Appaya, in which villagers vowed not to have relations, marry into, and drink the water from the wells in each other's villages. It was a stark animosity. British officers, local religious leaders, statesmen of the new Republic of India, and social workers all tried their best to end the violence. But on the 12th of April, 1990, Swami Sri was able to gather the seniors from all 45 villages and end the rivalry by way of sharing water from each other's wells. Swami Sri's love erased hatred between communities. And with that, let us pause our reading of In Love at Ease there for now, and we'll begin our final segment of today's Sangha. So thank you for listening. Is love God? Asks Skills. Such a wonderful question. I think this is an even more powerful way of asking, is God love? Or is love God? Is love God? Is God love? They are one and the same. Indeed. The reading is so full of love, says Ranjit. I love that. And much love to you. Manic Places. Welcome. Sarah, you share. No offense, Yam. But are you high? Maybe high on life, perhaps. What are my pronouns? Asks Duck. Whatever I am to thee, that I am. If you recognize my masculinity, then you may call me he or him. If you recognize my femininity, then you may call me she or her. If you recognize my plurality, then you may call me they or them. And if you recognize me as your very own self, then you may call me I and me. But together, us are we. So for the final section of this live stream, we'll be doing a mantra chanting. The very mantra in which Pramukh Swami Maharaj's Ishta Devata got his name, Swami Narayan. We will be doing the Swami Narayan mantra. This one is not from the same organization that Pramukh Swami Maharaj is from. There are many traditions which have stemmed from the teachings of Swami Narayan in the turn of the 19th century. The BAPS is one of them, but the BAPS had an offshoot just before Pramukh Swami Maharaj. And we'll be listening to a rendition of their Mahamantra for about 6 minutes or so, I believe. So here, in case you forget, I have the mantra, Swami Narayan. That's the entire mantra. And this is the way of rendering it in the traditional language, Gujarati, from which this practice originates. Good evening, Steve. So I will be minimizing the background music that we've been listening to thus far, so I can maximize the mantra music, and thus the music of our heart may be begun to be sung, sang, sung, same. Let's see. Everything's all set up for it? Without further ado, 5.5 minutes of Swami Narayan. Very fun. Jai Swami Narayan. Thank you all for chanting or listening with me. And thank you for Sky Guardian for sending that to me. Just a little clip from a much longer chanting session. Some people go on for hours chanting the holy names, and you can get very, very high, spiritually elevated from that japa. So wonderful. Thank you. All right. We'll be ending our live stream shortly. Yes, we are over soon, Cryptic. But that is because on the last week of the month until the first day of the next one, I do an earlier time for my earlier viewers who might be not able to attend during our regular times. Or if they do attend, it's the middle of the night for them, which isn't always so practical. Thank you. Who? For your heart, me, and donut. Hariom Tatsat. And MJ, thank you for your 11 plus 1 roses. A good partition of a dozen. And Cryptic, thank you for your heart, me, and 23 team bracelets. I am sorry that you will be missing me, but I hope to see you tomorrow. And you are always welcome to message me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And thank you, Marcel, for your 1, 2, 3 cloud breads as well. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Estrelinia, for your rose. Linia. Estrelinia. Estrelinia. There, a little better. And who for your heart, me, and donut. Thank you. And Painted Lady, thank you for your 20 roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Cryptic, you shared that you won't see me until Thursday? Well, I'll be sure that my love will see you. I'll send it on a mission to be there with you. You can't escape my love. Unless you reject it. Which is always your choice. You don't have to accept it. But it's there for you if you need it. And thank you, Marcy, for your rose. And Tatmamasi, thank you for your quintet of roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Lone Wolf, thank you for your rose. And Tiny Tiny. Yippee! And thank you, Jensing, for your finger heart. Hare Krishna. Where hath mine tiny tiny beanie gone? Here it is. Marcy, you send a tiny tiny also, which blends in a little bit to the background. But here he says, yippee! Dansuela, you share that you're so glad you made it for part of that invigorating chant. I am so glad you did as well. But if anyone wants to watch any other part of this live that they weren't able to, I will upload it to my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel. And there you are always welcome to explore the vast archive of everything we do here, including the readings and the meditations or chantings, which have their own dedicated playlist, thanks to Sky Guardian. Thank you, Cryptic, for your tiny tiny also. Yippee! Awesome, Cryptic. I look forward to your presence on Thursday. And I just realized that on Thursdays I have my therapy. So that might change my schedule as well. You'll have to check on my Instagram. It's at 2:15. I think I can make it for 12. Maybe even I could start even earlier. I'll just have to end before 12. I could start at maybe 11:30, perhaps, on Thursday. Just letting you know. That's in Pacific time. And with that, I love all the tiny dinies being shared in chat. Gotta remind myself to make the yam stickers, some of them. I'll have to pick my favorites out of them. Without further ado, I thank you all for coming to this Sangha today. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be there for you. Sakura, you ask, Yam, someone told you need therapy. Do I recommend it? Well, regardless of the connotation of people saying that to you, they might be pointing out something in themselves that needs therapy. But therapy can be very useful, and there are very many different kinds that cater to the individual. So I would do research and see which modality works best for you. As always, may this live stream be an offering to my Ishta Devata, Radha Krishna. I love how looking into their frame is like a portal into the bliss of nature. Krishna is the bliss. Radha is the nature. They come hand in hand. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. May you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment.